Okay, then, so what I'm going to do in this practical is again do another practical you following the notes in the tutorial, although I'm going to be using primarily the Visual Studio interface rather than actually typing in code to actually do it. So let's start with first of all we need to create a new page, so let's add new item, web form, and let's call it, it's called score.aspx in the practical, but I've had problems with that name, so I'm just going to call it scoreit.aspx. Okay, and because I've had sort of certain problems because it collides with the actual name of the controls. So let's first of all let's get rid of the div that Visual Studio immediately gives us, and let's go back into the design window, and let's, instead of kind of constructing the interface through code or by copying and pasting the code of the practical into the editor, this time I'm going to try and do it by creating it through the interface. Okay, using the toolbox, which is down the left in my case of the screen. You can see the toolbox if you go View Toolbox or Control Alt and X. They'll make it appear in the left part of your Visual Studio screen. So let's just first of all we've got a label which says Enter Score. We drag it by clicking on the label and dragging it into the place we want on the screen. Okay. Now it currently says label. To be able to change that, you need to make it come up in the Properties window. So you do that by going to View, Properties window, and if doing that you can actually have a list of values that you can set pertaining to that control. Now, so text label, if I change that to text enter score, okay, then press return, then the text changes of the label as you see. Underneath I'm going to put in a text box, so I click return, and then I pull across the text box until it's over the right position. Okay, and in that text box we can also set a number of values. So for example, the ID, we can call it score as we do in the in the code. We can make sure its text is nothing, which it already is, so that's fine. Okay, following it there comes a button, okay, which we just drag again from the toolbox. Make sure the text says something like submit rather than button, and then underneath that we have an empty label, which is really used for the purpose of actually giving back results from the server, and that has no text in it at all, so let's get rid of the text there completely. Okay, so that, and then it leaves just a sort of little placeholder saying label 2. Okay, now there was also a kind of thing, the associated control ID, okay, of the label, the first label. So let's just make that is selected, and it's called score. Okay, and that now means that label is kind of associated in the eyes of any kind of accessibility browser with the text box underneath, okay, whose name is score. Okay, so now we have that, we can actually try it out. So let's press Control F5 and let's see what it looks like. So therefore there it is, it's pretty much as you expect it. Okay, let's now go back to the programming and let's click on the source pane, and then we can actually make it identical to what we've got in the practical. So the label, its kind of ID is called label 1, run at server, its associated control ID is score, so that's all exactly the same as we've got in our code. ASP, the first text box is called score. The second, however, the button on it is called btn_submit. So let's just change that. btn_submit. Okay, and finally the following label appears underneath it after a BR tag. So that's all fine. So that's now it's not called label 2, it's called result. Okay. So there we have it. That's exactly what we expected of the page, and let's just check that it definitely works as we hoped it would. And it's taking a long time to appear, but it does. Okay, so that's all fine. That's all fine. Now we need something to happen when that button does indeed get pressed. and you'll notice there is a script button there. But again, let's go into the code and let's just see if we can type that out. Okay. Now the script can be really anywhere. Typically, it's usually just below the header before the body. So I can type in here script. Okay. Run at equals server. And in this area, I can put in the code for handling the button. So this is done by typing the word sub, meaning start a subroutine. Okay, subroutine meaning, if you like, a function which doesn't return a value. Okay, so btn submit underscore click. Like I said, button submit is the name of the button which we're going to be listening to, and click is the event that it's going to generate. So by val s as object, and by val e as system event args. It's got now a little underscore, which means that consider the following line as part of this line. Okay, so I'm looking at that very shortly.